What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched episode 3 of Hell's Paradise. Going full spoilers ahead, so watch the episode if you want to join us for this conversation. So, real quick recap. This episode was pretty straightforward. They have got to the island looking for the elixir of life. I believe her name is Sagiri and Gabimaru, the two mainish characters. Very quickly run into two other people. On the way there, they kind of established too for a split second that Gabimaru needs to keep his hands binded. He doesn't want to. He can easily get himself out, but she is really pushing the idea that he needs to remain binded. That's the rules. And at that point in the episode, it seemed as though he was willing to comply. But they run into some other people, one of them being one of the other criminals, and they are, of course, accompanied by one of the people who are part of Sagiri's clan, who's supposed to execute them if they don't follow rules. He attacks Gabimaru with the giant ball, hits him, but doesn't do any real damage to him. He says he did dislocate his neck or something, but he was able to fix himself fairly quickly. It's established at this point, though, that criminals can fight each other because the samurai clan people are not there to be their friends or their enemies. They're there to make sure they do the mission or kill them otherwise. So it gives some leeway to the criminals doing whatever they want to each other. They end up fighting while Gabimaru is binded, and he ends up at one point kicking a blade into the guy's chest. The guy gets back up. They continue fighting, and then we get a one of two weird time skips in the fight where we just jump to the conclusion of the fight, and it's established that Gabimaru killed this dude with like every single one of his weapons that he came with. This guy had a bunch of weapons with him. You watch the episode, Then the samurai with him chops the dude's head off, and he's on his way back, stating that his job is to essentially see through the criminal's attempt at finding the elixir of life, and when that ends, he can go. So he's ready to leave, kind of states that anyone who's staying longer is risking a lot, and he's just ready to go back. I think he also said something about Gabimaru's clan is coming to the island. I vaguely remember what he said in detail on that. That's my fault, I guess. But he did state that, which gives Gabimaru some new ambitions in this episode. We'll talk about in a sec. He also says before he leaves that, they kind of talk about how Sagiri is willing to follow the rules to a T, and that's something that I guess is a negative for her because the guy who was with the other dude who got killed let him be unbound, and I'm saying that, with experience, you're going to start seeing that rules are illusions, and, you think everyone's following, but not everybody's going to. So that was a whole talking point. He also kind of gives a prediction. I'm not sure how to interpret it yet because I don't know if it's real or not, but his prediction is once the criminals got on the island, they're going to start doing what they're going to do. Some criminals start killing each other. Some criminals try to betray the samurai they're with. Some criminals are going to start working together. Later in the episode, we kind of get the idea that some of those criminals that are working together might betray each other. So it's just chaos on the island, essentially. We got a lot of scenes that kind of go with that. One with the cannibal girl trying to hook up with one of the samurai. Later, it shows the samurai chops her head off. There's just a lot of stuff going on that I'm going to need answers for later, because it's all kind of weird predictive stuff. So after Gabimaru hears that his clan's coming, he's decided that the only way he's going to get back to his wife is if he can just get the elixir of life and get his pardon and move on. He sees Sagiri almost as a hindrance to him being able to complete that objective and attempts to kill her. She defends herself. They fight for a while. There is something that seems to be a theme in the show so far of both of them processing their emotions and how they feel about the situation. Gabimaru's kind of wrestling with his upbringing and how he was trained to be an assassin, but also his wife showing him that there's more to life than just killing, and the more good aspect of him. He ends up breaking Sagiri's sword and tells her that she's not going to be able to defend herself at this point. He has her at the point of He's on top of her. Another jump in the combat, which I thought was kind of weird in this episode. He's on top of her with a sword, getting ready to execute her, and he has a change of heart with an interesting animation of showing the dude who raised him to be an assassin behind one shoulder, but then his wife coming and stopping him from the right, which I thought was a really interesting scene. So yeah, they don't kill each other, and we'll see where that goes from there. Then we jump to a scene with one of the big criminal guys and one of the other samurai people. They're walking around, and the guy gets he gets stung by a butterfly with a person's face on it. It flies away. He instantly, as soon as he recognizes the situation, cuts his own hand off. The samurai's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And the dude explains there's a butterfly with a face on it, and then by that time the hand's already mutating and turning into what we've seen from the people who have come to this island and returned crazy. So this gives us a little bit of a hint on just what the island can do. We have an answer, at least a very little one, on like at least there's some weird butterflies here that can do that to you. So the guy was willing to cut off his own hand. While this happened, some centipedes come out, some fingers come out of their mouths, which is really disturbing looking. And dude says this is getting interesting, so kind of gives us a little view on his character, willing to cut off his own hand and thinking things are getting interesting. And then some giants come walking out of the trees with hands out of their eyes. Really, really creepy shit popping off now. And then we go back to Sagiri and Gabimaru after their differences, having to just get into full defense mode because now they are being surrounded by these centipedes as well. So the island is finally welcoming everyone who has showed up. Impressions.
I thought it was a pretty good episode. I think my only complaint is the 2 off-screen moments. I'm not really a fan of that in anime anyways, but it's pretty commonly used, so just kind of have to accept it for what it is. This episode was a lot more of the soul searching between the two characters still, which this time it was more so they can't seem to like commit to like hurting each other.
There's a really prolonged instance there where they both were asking themselves why they were hesitating during this fight. Yeah. So it is interesting if there's going to be more to that later.
Yeah, well, I just kind of take it, at least from Gabimaru's standpoint, it's his humanity kind of like coming forth that he had suppressed for so long, and then with her, she had also suppressed emotions for a long time, and seeing him go through something sort of similar, she can kind of relate and open up herself. So
there's also something interesting too with that, because I thought about that when it happened in the episode. Gabimaru doesn't want to kill people, but when they're the aggressor, he will, because he has to. Because if they kill him, now he can't complete what he's trying to do. But this situation, he decided he was going to kill Sagiri. He's like, I got to kill you because you're going to hold me back. But then
during part of that was because he heard that his clan was coming, and he's got to go. I can't deal with you and them.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah. But my point is, she wasn't even the aggressor in that, and he decided to be the aggressor because of his background and being an assassin. But during the fight, it's almost like he was balancing out again, like, wait, I'm trying not to just kill people.
Yeah.
And so, like, during that fight, and then towards the end, we saw the more humanity of him be reached through the spirit of his wife,
with Sagiri also echoing things that his wife had said. So and this episode did similar to what the last episode did, which had really good visual symbology of things happening.
There's some really cool symbolism, very very interesting symbolism in the show, and how they kind of in the last episode showed like her vision of Gabimaru like covered in like bodies or whatever, and her the weight of her burden on her being like these creepy demonic hands reaching up at her. Yeah. And in this episode, I appreciated when he was holding the blade, you could see like the creepy guy over his shoulder, and then his wife on the other side like grabbing the blade away from his stuff. There's some cool stuff going on there visually.
Well, and even when he was dealing with the two parts of his life, basically the one was really creepy and like crawling up his body and like putting a weight on him basically, and the wife was gentle and brushing away that. So that kind of stuff I've really liked about the show so far. We haven't had any like what I would call major fights, so it's hard for me to really kind of comment on the combat. We got a lot of just fine, animation sequences, but
Yeah, I would agree with that.
The fight wasn't meant to be a fight, an actual fight to the death. It was more so a battle of emotions. So
That, and when he fought the other dude, it was more so about like establishing the rules of the island. It was less about those two fighting, because it started off kind of cool, but then like it just ended like, oh, he's dead, and that served as like, well, I'm gonna chop his head off and fucking leave. It was less about like a cool action sequence.
yeah, and just reiterating how ridiculous Gabimaru's character is when it comes to strength. So, but yeah, and then with the creatures, they're all creepy looking, which is nice to see, because even in the previews that they kind of make a point of showing that there are creepy whatever they are on the island, and being able to actually see them now, and I assume they will be dealing with them next episode. Looking forward to that part, because as much as I like this beginning of the show, the advertising for the show was about this island basically, and we're finally getting into that. So looking forward to next week.
Agreed. Out of the 3 episodes so far, this is the only one I've had like a slight criticism of, in that I think the pacing could have been a little better. The episode did slightly feel kind of fillery, but it wasn't. It was still, we're still fleshing out characters, and that's what happened in this episode, while also kind of establishing the rules of the island, the proposed rules of what's supposed to happen versus what's actually happening, which I thought was kind of interesting. I think the dynamic that kind of reminds me of like Battle Royale, of the criminals on the island and how they're gonna start acting, which is something I said in the last review. Like, I was curious about how that's gonna start happening and if they're gonna start killing each other and stuff. So we are seeing that. That's what I want to see. It's cool. It's interesting. But yeah, a lot of the dialogue is still kind of fleshing out these like ideas that I think are fine, but at this point I'm kind of ready for the ball to start rolling. I did feel off by the 2 fight sequences just cutting to an end point. Not a big deal. It's not a killer of my enjoyment of the show, but I think that could have been done better. And yeah, I feel like a lot of the episode was just kind of still reiterating like, hey, Gabimaru's like a stone cold killer, but also doesn't want to be. I'm okay with that, but I hope the show isn't constantly that every episode. I have no reason to believe that's going to be the case, but we will see. I think the island, it's really interesting. There's a, kind of off topic, there's a Silent Hill coming out that's based in Japan, and the visual style is like very flowery. Everything's floral, and it's like really creepy. I remember seeing that, I'm like, leave it to the Japanese to like be able to make like beautiful things scary.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching this and I'm like, they're doing it too. Like, it's just like everything's like vibrant and colorful and beautiful. And even when they get there, they're like, oh, this is like really fantastical. This is crazy. And Gabimaru's like, you're not creeped out by this?
Yeah.
This shouldn't exist. And so, yeah, I think it's really interesting how they can take something so vibrant and make it eerie. And then given the wildlife and the giant thing are definitely creepy. I am liking everything visually and tonally. We were talking about in the first episode, but the character design's good. The island is creepy, but now that we're seeing some of like the monsters, I like the monster design. They're unsettling. I thought the butterfly was creepy. I thought the centipede. We both audibly went ew when we saw those. And then the giant, I was just like, okay, he's got little baby hands coming out of his eyes.
Yeah.
That's weird. So I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm excited to see next episode, to see how everybody handles this this awakening of the things that are on the island, the thing that we're kind of waiting to see, how people survive the island, especially now that we know that people potentially are killing each other and already thinning out their own numbers. I'm also interested to see how Gabimaru's clan showing up will affect things. I think that is where we might see some better action sequences with Gabimaru if he's fighting other people who are trained the same as him. Possibly. We'll see. That's speculation. Also worth noting, I didn't say it in my my recap, but the very beginning of the episode implied that the guy who was the leader of his clan might have got the elixir of.
He was immortal.
Yeah. So they said they couldn't kill him. So that was an interesting tidbit as well, kind of giving the notion that somebody has found this before. So that's interesting. But overall, I think it was a decent episode. I think it was the weakest of the three I've seen so far, but that's fine. Not every show. Sometimes we'll watch a show and I'm just like, this episode is good. This episode is good. This episode is good. I'm like, am I being honest when I say that shit? No, sometimes shows are just really, really good. Chainsaw Man, I thought every episode was fantastic. But, this show, I thought the first two episodes were really good. And then this episode, I'm like, it's fine. So, yeah, I feel like I feel a little more fair in giving it that review because, yeah, some of the shows you had me starting to watch were all like big banger shows. So, I was like, not every show is going to be like amazing. So, but yeah. Oh, last couple things. The very little combat we did get to see, I thought was cool. I liked Gabimaru's stance being one-handed versus Sagiri's two-handed samurai stance. Also, when he was fighting the big guy, it was very brief, but I thought it was neat how, he was just breaking every weapon off his body, which was kind of crazy. I'm surprised he didn't do that with Sagiri, but he was having an emotional thing during that fight.
I think they also established early on that she can cut him.
Yeah.
So.
But the scene where the blades were falling and he, while binded on his back, like grabbed one of the weapons and launched into his chest, I thought was really creative and cool looking. So,
he takes you can see him like look up, look at all the weapons. It's almost like he's analyzing the situation. Rolls forward onto his back and kicks one of the weapons into the guy. It was really cool.
And then he makes the comment that it's hard to fight while binded. Well, not that hard because it just shows that he could. They're emphasizing he's a badass.
Yeah.
I mean, he's it being hard for him is still very easy. So, yeah, I thought the combat was stylized when it was there and when it wasn't skipping. I didn't like that. Hopefully, that's not a common thing in this show. But yeah, fun enough episode. Anything else you want to say?
No.
All right, let us know in the comments what you guys think of episode 3 of Hell's Paradise. Did you like it? Did you not like it? If you didn't like it, why didn't you like it? And if you did like it, what did you like about it? What stood out to you? What do you think about where things are going? What do you think about the things on the island? What do you think about that butterfly? What do you think about what the criminals are doing? Do you have any predictions? Unless you've read the manga, don't tell me what happens, please. And yeah, let me know everything you think about in the comments below when it comes to Hell's Paradise. Stay tuned. We're going to be reviewing more of Hell's Paradise as that rolls out. We are going to be watching right now Demon Slayer episode 2 of season 3. Can't wait to watch that, and we'll be reviewing that and putting that out probably when this comes out, both reviews. And then we also watched Suzume in theaters, so we'll be doing a review on that. I'm still trying to figure out if I want to do a full spoiler review since that's like we probably will, but I was thinking of maybe doing a spoiler-free review as well. I don't know if you have opinions. Let me know in the comments. So yeah, 3 reviews coming soon. But yeah, I've been Seth. This has been Chevy, and we'll see you on the next review.